Hey everyone, so in this video I'll try to explain CVE 2023-23752 which affects Joomla. So we'll be going through theory, which means we'll be going through some snippets of code to try to understand what's actually happening behind the hood, and then we'll try to exploit it through a vulnerable lab. So let's get started. So basically, when it comes to Joomla, it is just like a CMS. For example, you might have come across WordPress. So Joomla is similar to that. It lets you build websites. So there are a couple of entry points when it comes to Joomla applications. Now there's a slash administrator endpoint, which lets you log in as an administrator and do a whole lot of changes, like you can add pages, add users, and things like that. Then there are core APIs. Now these core APIs require authentication to be accessed, unless they are public, of course. And if you want to kind of understand what an API endpoint looks like, so it will have slash API slash in it, followed by the regular endpoint. And then there is an index.php page that you can kind of access Joomla application to be. Now, what this CV actually concerns is the Joomla core APIs. Now we already know that these APIs require authentication unless they are specifically designated as public URL. If you dig into the code, you will find out that all the code for the API endpoints is in the api.php file. And if you see, it links to includes app.php page. And if you go to that page, you will see that this function is executed. Now, we'll try to find out where this function is. We see that this function exists in the cms application.php page. And if you go there and look for this function, you will see that it is kind of calling do execute. Now we try to do this until and unless we get to this page, which is api application.php. Now here something specific happens. Now this function or method, what this tries to do is you have a route. So what is a route? Now this would be a route. And if you have a question mark like this is equal to false, these would be queries. So all the parameters that are passed in a particular route are being fetched and they are being saved in the vars variable. Now this is where the trouble begins. Now you need to kind of check if those variables are of some use to you and if they might break the application logic. Now if you come to the trigger event function, you will see that there is an if statement which checks for the presence of public query in the vars variable that we checked here. If public exists, what this will do is this will check if public is set to false. Now if it is set to false, it will return an authentication failed error. But what if I were to manually go pass public is equal to true, then I'll be able to bypass this, right? So this is an endpoint that I have. And if I type in any of the endpoints which require authentication, for example, this, you will see that it returns a forbidden error. But if I go public is equal to true, I'm able to access all that information. So this is how you kind of exploit this CVE.